Yeah, New York is beautiful because it changes every day.
Yeah.
You know, my phrase behind New York is that it's a 24-hour play that constantly has changes, and you can redact stuff, you can add stuff. People are always, everyone here is a player, is a central player to a huge, huge play that gets amplified all over the world.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this town, even though sometimes I love to hate it. And then I hate to love it. But for the most part, I love it still. People younger than myself or are just a tad older have moved away. And it just, that sounds to me on how much can you take of this city. It does eat us young, but I'm forever young. So keep eating because I'm here to stay.
Yeah. Wow. So you have you got like a cyclical view of the situation. You have more of a universal mentality because you're thinking about how this leads into that and that leads into this and everything's connected. And something that I find interesting about what you just said is a lot of people from past generations, they look at New York and they're like, it was iller when I was younger. And, I understand that thought process as well. But you're like, I still love it and I'm still here. And one of the reasons I love it is because it changes so much. Some people is like, I hate it because it changed. You're like, I love it because it's changing.
Yeah, I mean, if you put a homing device or a recording device in any one of my cars, you'd be like, oh my God, wow, Leah's changed himself, because, there's times where I'm like, shit, I wish that wouldn't have changed. Like there are certain things that you should just, let sleeping dogs lie is one thing, but let really, cultural, iconic places still be there to tell a story, not be a memory and a figment of a memory, because you got to remember, we're going so fast right now with technology. Everything is being amplified and gentrified so quick. So there's no time to even remember. So we're forgetting to remember, and, why should CBGBs be gone? Why should certain sculptures be gone? Why, in the case of where I come from, movements, I always say movements are about moving on, moving the needle, moving the pendulum from one side to the other or whatever it is. You have to be malleable and you got to be accessible to a certain degree, but you also have to be resourceful in the next moment that presents itself. And New York gives you that. It's not a town that likes to stay stagnant for long, if not at all. It's always a moving project. So to what you're saying, your point, we're in a different, yes, it was iller, as most people say. According to your story and how people like to tell stories, they either tell the stories reflecting real history itself, or they tell the story according to the way they want to tell it, so that it sort of amplifies them. Yeah. So it makes them look good. Yeah. Ooh, I came up to rough New York. Yeah. Really? What's rough to you? Yeah. So I know rough. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you straight up, I know rough. Because I've been in many, many neighborhoods, many, many temperatures in the city. And yes, it seemed iller back in the day. But then we were in a different demographic and political and technological space at that time. So things are very rapid now, and we get news of things happening almost real time, whereas before you had to ingest it and sort of digest it and then sort of, again, tell a story according to what you want, how you want to tell it at that time. So was it ill? Yeah, I mean, there were things, people were more hands-on at that time. And for that, yeah, you did get mugged, on the street corner if you didn't know what you was doing. But now you can get mugged by getting hacked. So different things, but maybe more or less the world as it changes, it stays the same.
You talk about how your roots coming from Manhattan back then, it was like the city is seen as like a war zone, and it was very dangerous. And that led to a bunch of different things. That led to the creation of a bunch of different movements, a bunch of different art. That was also fueled by the world and by society and things that were going on, much like you're saying. How did growing up in that environment affect your transition from boy to man? What are the things that you learned growing up in that environment and being in a place of danger, but it's also your home, you know what I mean? And it's not just even being on the tracks and being near the third rail and being near the train and being in this unknown environment where people aren't around, but it's also like, even when you leave that and then you go home, it's still a place of danger. Everywhere is war type of situation, but you can also find beauty and love in that. So what was your experience like growing up in that?
I had two places of sanctuary, and first and foremost was my home. My parents, as much as they struggled with their own personal, struggles and generational traumas and all, were able to keep a good roof over my head and my siblings. I was the youngest. And that was a sanctuary that I always felt like, yeah, I can go home and refill my fuel tank with some rice and beans and some good pasteles, and I'm coming back out to like change the world, right? Excuse me. My other sanctuary was my frame of mind. Not really any particular place. My frame of mind kept me safe, and edgy and sharp and adaptable wherever I could go. I ran in different circles. I ran with different checkered past people. And I knew how to adapt and how to redact myself and also retract myself, okay, I've had enough of this, or I've seen enough of this, or I felt enough of this. I need to make exit stage left, And that's the savviness of New York, that if you're really honed into New York, as I am, and maybe that has to do with being a creative. I'm not saying just an artist. I even almost hate saying I'm an artist. Ooh, I'm an artist, poor me, starving artist, whatever. It's like all these different titles that come with artists. I'm a creative. I'm a person that likes to trace over the lines that life is leaving just by experiences and stuff like that. And I think, I love it. The concerto of New York. It's my frame of mind of being able to find comfort, so that I can be a creative and actually take this all in, go back to, at that time I didn't have a studio. My studio was the world. This was the world, right? But my studio now, even sometimes my studio is not even the place where I create. I'm creating on the streets, meaning I'm actually painting or sculpting or whatever on the streets or photographing, but I'm creating because I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm still in that frame of mind. I'm already and I'm just taking it all to the operation table, the surgery room or whatever, and putting that Frankenstein together.
Yeah.
So I think that's my two sanctuaries. There was danger everywhere, and there's danger now. There's different types of danger.
Yeah.
But you learn to navigate, investigate as well in those type of environments. And I feel that right now, the thugs, the mental state of the country, the nation, the cities are in turmoil right now. I thought about this the other day walking down the street. We've learned through our marriage to our devices to be divisive, to divide ourselves by not having that moment of empathy and rationale. And I like the 3 C's: common sense, common ground, common courtesy. And when you put those together in the right trajectory, in the right format, you start to realize that, wow, I am human. I think we're all kind of being robotized by the adaption of being connected to these devices that make us think we're smarter and sharper and faster. we're still shitting in the same place. Hate to say it. So don't shit where you eat. Don't shit where you speak.
Yeah. I think it sometimes it makes us as humans long for something more real, something tactile, or something pure, or something that just feels human. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, why is it that everybody is so, like, you take your case, like you hear about the subway movement, but we're over here in 2025, about to be 2026. You're like, oh, that's amazing. Like, that's so amazing. And it is amazing, but it's like, because they're not experiencing that real shit as much anymore. Like, the life of like, I'm going to go really explore this world. I'm going to go feel these feelings. I'm going to go put myself in this element of danger. Or I'm going to go experience the whole world. I feel like the youth can sometimes just experience things through their phones. And then they're like, they long for that. You know what I mean? There's a longing for what's missing.
Yeah, there's a missing link.
Yeah.
And I think they're smart enough. Look, young people always want to change the world. It's the older, let me just be respectful, the older aristocrats, if you want to call, that sign into bills of how we should conduct ourselves and all. I think people generally, most people are generally inherently good natured, good souls and all. But it's the effects of how life is written and planned and in some ways schemed to make us behave in certain. I think of people, the marginalized societies we're seeing the hens come to, we're seeing, what's that saying? Coming home to roost.
Yeah. The chickens are coming home to roost.
Yeah, the chickens. It's like you can't expect. First of all, you can't expect things to repair themselves overnight. They did not happen overnight, even if it was under force.
Yeah.
Things took a while to manifest themselves and galvanize themselves into society. And I think that to unravel that kind of baggage that's hundreds of years old is very hard to do when you're still, when the small percentage of people that have too much are boxing in people, lots of people that have too little into a box and expecting them to behave and to conduct themselves. And they try. There's a concerted effort from people trying to be good, from marginalized, fractured neighborhoods and places and countries. But they always meet that wall. And it's like, at one point, how do you break that wall? So back to your point, you break that wall through the power of the arts and the power of expression. Because if you can't purge that, if I can't sit here and talk with you and be open-minded and open about anything and everything, then what does that do to the human condition?
Yeah.
Where does that leave us at the end of the day? So thank God for the arts. And I know that they're gunning for the arts because they've figured it out. Like, there's the secret subliminal weapon.
Yeah.
But it comes in many ways. It comes in film, it comes in poetry, it comes in sculpture, it comes in physical intelligence through the dance.
Yeah.
It comes through physical, the martial arts of being able to paint, sculpt in ways that speaks to people about their time and times to come.
Yeah.
Maybe even times so extended that you won't be alive yet.
As a youth, what did painting do for you? What did graffiti do for you? What kind of freedom did that give you? And in terms of the youth always wanting to change the world, when you were participating in this movement, were you aware that this is extremely significant? Or were you just so in the moment that it was just like, I'm just living naturally and this is going to be what it's going to be?
No, I was definitely, again, I was in the cocoon that I created for myself. I was in my sanctuary saying, this is huge, but I'm going to single-handedly make it larger. Humongous, ginormous. This is huge, but this is limited to sidewalk corner chat and yak, that's cool. If you feel that that's your end game right there. My end game is that there is none. Like there is a constant push forward, and that this is bigger than even myself. And that I need to be that disciple, that apostle, whatever you want to call me, that pushes that envelope forward on that table and says, no, we ain't finished yet. We're never going to be finished. How do you like that concept? This will never, ever be finished, because art in itself has never been finished. Is a painting ever finished by the creator?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily. I don't believe that my paintings are finished by me. I just stop. That's all I do. You could look at it and see something else that I can't see. In that way, it has legs. It's now being conducted through you. So it's a constant concerto, a concert of feelings and minds from your own perspective, from your growth, your experiences, your dreams, your nightmares, all that stuff. You now look at something and see something different, whether it saves you or not, or it brings you to the next level of intellect, thinking, intellectual thinking. So be it. That it's already that, and there lies the power that a piece of art in any form can inform people to think outside of the box that they've been thrown into. So I like to call it unorthodox, out of the box.
Yeah.
To be able to think, and that's the way I was thinking then, that I am going to, either with my close peers, my close circle, bring this up a notch or more, or I'm going to do it on my own.
Yeah.
So that's unstoppable. That's unfathomable. That's unprecedented. I could have been happy with certain things that I achieved, and I realized, no, I'm just getting started, dudes. And I say that to this day. I'm just getting started.
How do you transcend with limited resources? So, you're painting graffiti, but what you ended up doing was transcending graffiti and then moving on to just completely different degrees of what it is that you're doing. But from your origins, it's like you do have a limited resource in a sense that, like, where you're at is dangerous. Maybe you don't know that many people. Maybe there's no internet. There's no mass form of communication. There's so many things that it would be like, oh, well, how would I possibly do this? And how did you go about doing that?
Well, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing now, but I know that back then, what I was doing to acquire my tools was being done in a noble way. And I'm what they call, if they ever call anyone this, a conscientious thug.
Yeah.
Because I can be just as dangerous and invincible as any of them, but I have a conscience. I grew up on the streets shooting the pump, the fire hydrant. I walked up to those fire hydrants that were left open all night long. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of gallons of water just going back into the seed, right? The seed of our world, right? But still not entertaining, not cooling off anyone. I'm like, what a waste of energy. And I'm like, no. And it might be because it goes back to my fundamental roots, is that I never wanted to hurt my parents. And I never wanted to hurt people that were close to me, even though I am a tough lover, because I see the world. I see things. I feel things. And I would go and open that fire hydrant, but I would shut it down once I finished. When I was done with my thing, I was like, I did my thing. I went to that dark side, or whatever you want to call it, because I'm resourceful. Yeah. I'm using the fire hydrant as a tool to a watering hole, almost literally, yeah, of gathering community, having fun in your youth with other youths, meeting new people, meeting older people, and then shutting it down because we've already exhausted everything that we we could do with this particular item,
Yeah.
this tool here. So the same thing with the subways. I shut it down after I had exhausted everything that I could on those subways. So now I'm navigating to a whole new world that I'm still trying to figure out and wondering, should I be diving deep into this world and falling into the entrapment of just being mesmerized by all this technology and not really going back to those roots of saying, I need to be human first before I can even think that I can be smart in this world with all this stuff, because it's all superficial.
Yeah.
Somebody invented this shit. Somebody's listening to this shit. Somebody's, gathering that information. It's not yours. That phone is not mine. That information on that phone is not mine. Someone else gathered that. It's gathering that. I know what's up. So, what is mine?
Yeah.
What is my soul? So, for those souls out there listening in, you have to take inventory of yourself, figure where you want to steer yourself morally. And, I just think that I used back to your point, it's a long-winded answer, but, it's, I utilized what I had to at that time. To me, those cans were decaying, decomposing on those shelves. Some of them had dust years old. Whoever thought of a compressed can becoming the tool of an expression of youth? That was so urgent at that time. In the midst of an identity crisis, that can becomes your, So now I'm trying to utilize what I can feel in the airwaves and trying to read people. Back then, I felt I was on the inside trying to break out. Now I'm on the outside trying to break back in. Back into that resourceful self. And, it's a very loud and proud city. And there's a lot of people with different goals. And I'm just trying to swim between it all and gather all that information and hopefully come off with work that at the end of the day will reinform society as it rushes through the red light. Mm-hmm. Because you either rush through the red light and you take that Russian roulette chance of getting hit broadside T squared, or you make it through. At the same time, is that really life? Is that what life should be? Should we rush through and take that chance? Maybe so. Maybe that's what makes it all click. But I like to think that at the end of the day, the art is always the saving grace, the saving moment that we could all go back to and say, I got it now.
Yeah.
Oh, I never saw that. Oh man, my man. And it's not just me. I'm physically me, but I am part of so many billions and trillions of molecules of vibes in the air. That's all I am.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of wanting something to say, when you are painting graffiti early on, I feel like from a viewer's perspective, it wasn't just about the repetition of the name Lee. It was also about an actual message, because you have something inside of you that is not, maybe even it's not just for graffiti writers. It might be for the general public. It might be for a random kid on the street who doesn't know about graffiti. It's something more, and that's something that I feel like could be one of the reasons that you were also able to transcend, because it wasn't so, like you're saying, limiting. You know what I mean? Like has many facets. So as the years go by and you never stop painting, you never stop creating, what gives you the inspiration to still want something to say today? What do you want to say today? Because I see that you're thinking about society and how fast it's moving. You're thinking about technology and what it's causing, and you're thinking about our human elements, but also our not human elements, because we're so connected to the device. What is the stuff you're trying to say today when you're making work?
Well, I'm always enthusiastic about the human race.
Yeah.
I'm also pissed off by it. And, I'm a Jekyll and Hyde in that, so to speak. Jekyll's trying to invent something and then turns into Hyde, so good, turns into mischief or, misdirection or whatever. But I'm sort of a Jekyll and Hyde where I'm trying to like have hope that people can find their ways out of their own messes, their own, what they call the classical mess here, life. I'm just trying to take it day by day, lots of things now inform me of my past. And they also inform me what could be in the future. And maybe that might be because I have children, have growing children. And I want to leave. I don't want them just to inherit a world. I want them to want a world that we left in a good puzzle. A good puzzle that they could put together and feel that they're part of society and history too. Sometimes I think of myself like, wow, did I make so much shit happen that I've kind of like made people get paralyzed by intimidation? And I don't want that. I think that there's many people out there young that can take a little hint of what I have done and will do, and add their own flavor to it, and for a different world, right? For a world that is challenging in different ways to them. And I just, I hope that makes sense. But, my ears are perked. My eyes are wide open. My mind is endless. And I just feel I'm just another brick on the wall, and like that famous song. And, I'm just another brick that makes a solid statement about our times,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, like observing from the outside, like as a young kid, personally, being into graffiti, being into skateboarding, being into hardcore punk and all that shit, I'm just like, wow, like all these things I like, they're beautiful for me, but I can't really do anything with them, or so I think when I'm that age. I'm like, this is where it ends, because I'm not going to be a professional graffiti whatever. I'm not going to be a professional skateboarder. I'm not going to be this, that, and the third. There's nothing I can do with this. There's nothing I can do with this to take it somewhere. I don't know anyone. I don't have any resources, or I feel like I don't have any resources. And how could I create something out of this so that it's meaningful and that I could make my life this instead of doing something that I dislike? But then I see somebody like you, and I see where you come from and your roots, and then how you took it somewhere and how you were able to. And then I realized, like, oh, nah, it is possible. Like, you could do something. It's everyone's path is different, but when you take a different, like, it's wild to me that you can start by painting on trains and then somehow be in galleries and museums and have all this shit happen. And I'm like, how does that even happen? Like, how does that even happen step by step? Who would have thought that this small seed of whatever you want to call it, vandalism, rebellion, graffiti, getting up, trains, streets, throwies, like whole car, like you're somebody who was on like the MTA's most wanted list, and that's like somehow an opportunity. Like you do, like you turn everything into an opportunity. You could turn everything into an advantage if you own it, if you be yourself, if you approach it with passion and you have real life behind it. And that's something that I learned from viewing your story,
Yeah, I think it's sort of a internal inspection of oneself. You could be part of a group, a collective, a movement, but you ultimately have to go home and deal with yourself. And home doesn't mean physical home base. And I think that that's what makes people different from each other. And that in itself sustains a movement. Because if we were all doing the same thing, then all we're doing is the same thing, right? But when people are breaking away, and not necessarily just breaking away from your contemporaries or whatever, but you're breaking away to have that moment of solace and that moment of truth with yourself, whether it's ugly or not, that's when you can return to that table and have a good conversation directly or indirectly with your peers, your contemporaries, and make something happen further and further, push the envelope. And I feel that, for myself, yeah, I could have hung out with all these groups and, just basically play that hand of just being part of the noise. But I was like, I want to be the silent. You want to be that silence that people can hear.
Yeah.
And I think that those little kernels of energy and voices that lend into a giant voice box at the end of the day, that's what makes serendipitous rides on that. Good serendipitous. How things come into place of how you find yourself in a place like, what am I doing here? How did I get here? It was because you got there on your own introspective, your own self-awareness and your own self-agency.
Yeah.
Knowing and self-determination comes behind that. When you say to yourself, I know I'm a good person, but I got to do things in a certain way that may not look good or be good in other people's eyes. But that's the way I get to that goal.
Yeah.
Because you're not allowing me, you're putting up blockades, a form of paralysis, expecting me to succumb to that and say, oh, okay, I'll go to that street corner and just hang there for the rest of my life and talk a lot of crap and make it sound like I know what I'm doing, or I know what's up, or I know the answers to everything, and yet you're not doing anything. Maybe you're the night watchman for that neighborhood, and that's great. You're affecting people in that way. You're affecting people in the way you're supposed to affect them. I want to go beyond that. I want to be mobile.
Yeah.
So, I said this sadly one time. The young cats that I grew up with, who were very talented, came from hardworking families, made a wrong decision in that fork in the road. Doesn't mean they were bad people. They just made a wrong decision. And we all do that in all aspects of life. And because of that, they're examples, unfortunately. So that person that's sitting in the corner for the rest of his life or her life, seemingly not doing anything, they are actually contributing to the people that can look over across the street and say, that's something that I cannot allow myself to be. But if I can help that person with some tools that I gather on this side of the street, then great. Because at the end of the day, fortune and fame doesn't mean anything. Money is money. It's a tool that you can use to give back, to be back with your community. And even money as a tool, as a physical tool, tangible thing, is not the only tool in the house. The tool is your mind. The real tool is to be able to talk to youth and try to steer them, hey, guy, I suggest you should do this. And there's times that you best do this. This is what you got to do. And I've learned that over the years that, not having the resources allowed me to invent a different side of me for a meaningful but very limited time, to do things with nothing and come up with something so that can be having lasting effect for ages, if not decades, for the ages. And this particular art movement had to happen. And where else would it happen but New York? Sorry, that's a New Yorker. That's why they named it twice, New York, New York. But it is people are looking and hearing and vibing and feeling here more than anywhere else. They just, and whatever you're creating will be seen and heard and felt here. So, I'm off the trains now almost 30 something years, whatever it is, since 1985. 40 years. Yeah, 40 years. People still expecting me to like go back to. I'm like, well, whether you're young and you want to see that and feel that again, or you're old or of my age and you'd like to see that again, see it in your own imagination. Don't expect me to come back to a nostalgic place just to suit your needs. Because I surely don't leave, the art establishment. I don't allow the art establishment to put me in the suit that they are comfortable in. I'm not comfortable in my own suits half the time. So I have to find my own way to break out of that. And that's the results of that is art. It's the works of art that I create. So, do I stay in a place because it's comfortable? No, not necessarily. If I'm too comfortable, then I'm too complacent and maybe susceptible to being indoctrinized. And I won't go by any doctrine. So I think that young people are capable of looking into themselves, steering away from the noise and the confusion, the attractions, the distractions of everyday life now as we know it. And maybe spiritually finding something that they've never, ever thought could exist, inside. We still are human souls. We're flesh and bones, but we're souls, much bigger than ourselves. And I think graffiti itself is a state of mind. It's not even a thing. It's a state of mind. That was my state of mind. This is what I need to do at this particular time, 50 years ago now.
Wow. You don't seem like someone to me is attached to the past. Like, I know you're always trying to move forward and you're always happy with.
Except when it comes to cars.
Yeah.
Don't talk cars. We're going to the past, baby.
But in terms of that, like, did you care at all? Because I know you're always moving forward and adapting. Did you care at all when the trains went out, when there was no more graffiti on the trains, when that movement was ending, when that was so much a part of your youth and what you did and what you still do today? That's where the roots are. Did it bother you? Because I know you're transcending and you're moving forward, but was that like, damn, that sucks? Or was that like, that was part one, we're on to part 2, 3, 4, and 5 now?
Totally part one, turn the chapter. Allow space for new things to happen. I released my first book last year at my 50th anniversary, 74 to 2024. And I didn't make this up, so I'm going to give credit. I'm trying to remember her name now. Jesus, I should remember her name. But she says, Lee, what's beautiful about you writing your book is that you're allowing yourself to have space for new things to happen and not really take up, but make space for new things to get into your life so that it can inform your next chapter. And I was like, wow, that was like such a good thing that she on the streets, bumping into this young lady on the streets and talking for a few minutes, chatting on the corner, a good chat in the corner. And she informed me more than I could inform myself about my own book. And it was beautiful what she said, because I was like, wow, she's so right. I'm allowing myself new space to make new things happen in my life. And I didn't cry about those subway vessels leaving my space, because I was already making new space. I was in a new space. I was not living with my parents anymore. I wasn't living in in my conditions anymore. I was living in a new place that I felt that I could have and make light for a lot of people besides myself. So, new theater of operations, I like to call it. And to create a book, to create a, there's, I sound like I'm pushing it, but we're making a documentary of my life now with Sarah Driver.
Nice.
Great director. Putting together a love letter to New York City through my eyes and through my experiences. And that's opening up a new chapter for me because I can feel new things coming on the horizon. New horizons are possible now. And whatever they may be, they will be. And I'll either succumb to them or be part of them or whatever and react with them. And I feel that it's okay to let go of space and maybe even people. There's a device of divisiveness now because of our political climate, where people are letting go of good friends, even family members, even lovers, partners, over their differences and over the hypocrisy that we're all part of. But sometimes it's okay to say, you know what? That bridge is burning in the background, and that's okay for that bridge to continue to burn to remind me that I can make new bridges on this side. So if you let go of certain people, it's okay to have that new space to allow new people into your space. Good people, matured people, people that are mature to the moment of your life, of your living experiences. So I can allow people in now that are not people from the past, but people from the present that are willing to move to the future. And people from the past, if I've had to let go of them, sometimes harshly, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. People say you should bring closure to things. Maybe you should bring openness to things. Not everything is about closure. That word kind of haunts me. I want to bring openness. Let's open a new door. Let's open a new opportunity, a new conversation. Let's open a new meal. Food for thought. Because there's people now that you never thought would be coming, serendipitous or not, that are now going to inform your new self. Because we wake up every day as a new self. Based on our dreams, nightmares, or whatever it is. You go to sleep, you wake up differently. Microly, in a micro sense, you wake up differently. And you accept things, you rest on things, it's the way you gotta look. You can't be the same. If you're the same, you're flat.
Yeah.
So I like to look at life like that. And, many souls, especially my contemporary, some of my contemporaries are living in that time. Great, man. That's your church. How can I say, oh, how could I say you're foolish for that? If that's what informs you and that's what maybe helps me remind myself of my past, good. It's an intermission moment for you.
Yeah.
I'm into commissioning a new moment.
Yeah.
So if you're into that intermission and you want to live in that space, that's okay, because that's what keeps your light on. That's maybe a very hint of a light for me, but I'll never lose my graceful, experience in that time. And mind you, it wasn't pretty and easy for 90% of the time. So I'm only amazed that I survived that.
Yeah.
And that I survived it not only physically, but I survived it mentally and emotionally. That, well, maybe not emotionally, but mentally, where I can open new chapters for myself, and hence thus open chapters for people that are following my work, people that are influenced by my work, young or old.
Yeah.